Greetings wizards, and welcome back to part 2 of Skyrim Bosses Ranked. In part 1 we tackled the easiest bosses, but get ready, because in this video we're upping the ante with even tougher bosses. Thanks again to all of you wizards for your votes in our community poll, as well as all of you awesome folks who left your amazing comments. This ranking wouldn't have been possible without you guys. Now I can't wait to get this ranking underway, so without further ado, let's begin. 31. Haldir. Now here's a chilling tale for you. Imagine this, a poor hunter and his two buddies seeking shelter in a cave during a brutal storm, only to stumble upon the entrance to Haldir's Khan. And let me tell you, Haldir is one persuasive Draugr. He hypnotized them and led them deeper into the Khan, where they became mere pawns under his mind control. So the moral of the story, never trust anyone who's been dead for centuries, no matter how charming they are. Now let's talk about Haldir himself. Not only can he summon 3 clones of himself, but he's also the only Draugr who knows how to wield fire and shock spells, leaving those frost-based Draugr in the dust. And just when you think you've got him weakened, he pulls a disappearing act, splitting into 3 elemental versions of himself. And if you're venturing alone, this encounter can be deadly. Way back when I first played Skyrim, when I was still quite young, I had managed to find Haldir's Khan at a low level and ran in with my ancient Nord equipment, as I had just beaten Bleak Falls Barrow. His fight was surprisingly tough because of his odd duplication ability, and the fact that he can lock a gate behind you so companions can't enter made him quite scary, at least to a kid my age. Looking back, it's still a nostalgic fight, but kinda easy if you know what you are doing. Also, just having a companion wait in the boss room ahead of time with the wait there pointing command. Thanks Weskin Time, that's a top tip right there. I'll also add that summoning allies can be a great help too. But hold on tight, because once you've dealt with his tricky duplicates, Haldir isn't quite done with you yet, and jumps right back into the fray for one final showdown. But once you emerge victorious, be sure to claim Haldir's staff, or should I say staves, as you can find one in his ash pile, and another drops from his hand upon his defeat. Oh, and don't forget to check out the chest at the back, as it might hold some valuable treasures.
Oh, hell no, man.
30. Otar the Mad. Otar ruled over the city of Rangvald with great success, until his mind became corrupted and he descended into insanity. He became a dragon priest, and he terrorized his own people with unimaginable cruelty, until 2 Nordic heroes, Seirek and Torsten, decided to put an end to his tyranny. With all their might, they fought against Otar's immense power, but they just couldn't defeat him. Instead, they sealed him away in a massive sarcophagus, locking it with 2 skull keys they swore to protect with their lives. Now let's talk about Otar's powers. He's a master of shock spells, zapping his enemies left and right with Chain Lightning and Thunderbolt, and he even carries a Staff of Chain Lightning to amp up the voltage. So if you're planning to take him on, it's a good idea to stock up on resist shock potions, especially if you rely on melee attacks, as he can create a wall of lightning around him with that staff of his. And here's a pro tip. Since Otar is a dragon priest, you'll want to be careful with summoning allies, because he can actually seize control of them with his command Daedra spell. And trust me, you don't want to give him more firepower, considering he can already summon a Storm Atronach. My advice is to make use of the environment, as there are plenty of vantage points, like these stairs, and from there you can pick him off from a safe distance. But hey, if you are struggling and need a sneaky way to deal with him, you can lure him to the canal, maneuver around a few corners, and watch as he meets his doom amidst the swinging blades. And before you leave Otar's tomb, don't forget to grab his mask, snatch up the treasure from the chest, and learn Kind's Peace from the word wall at the end. 29. Volthuriol. Now here's a boss you might not have heard before. This ancient dragon is a true marvel, and let me tell you, you won't stumble upon him easily. First off, he's found underground in Blackreach, which is a place not easily accessible. But if you manage to navigate your way through, you'll come across this large glowing orb. And by shouting unrelenting force at it, you can summon Volthuriel himself. As you do, he emerges from the shadows, ready to put your skills and mettle to the ultimate test. And it's just one of those rare encounters that will leave you in awe of the wonders Skyrim has to offer, and it sure is a breathtaking battle in Blackreach. In combat, Volthuriel actually prefers to crawl on the ground, unleashing fire breath upon his foes. And despite being an ancient dragon, his damage output is modest. But don't let that fool you, for he's still a formidable challenge, especially for low-level players. 28. Ragot. This dragon priest used to rule over a small cult high up in the secretive monastery of THEWELSHWIZARD'S. But his party didn't last long when a legion of King Howell's soldiers stumbled upon their hideout. Ragot and his crew fought fiercely, retreating deeper into the monastery as the soldiers closed in. But as the situation became more dire, Ragot devised a daring plan for his cult to sacrifice themselves in a last-ditch attempt to throw off the soldiers. And by Talos, it worked. The aftermath was so horrific that the commander called off the search, haunted by what he had witnessed. But man, if only we'd been around to help him out, we would have totally flushed him out with Aura Whisper. But unfortunately, we weren't, and Ragot and his undead crew are still hanging out in THEWELSHWIZARD'S. And just a word of caution, he's guarded by some seriously tough Draugr, so you might want to lure them away before confronting Ragot. And let me tell you, Ragot himself is a true pyromaniac, unleashing fireballs and incinerate spells like there's no tomorrow. He's also armed with the Flame Cloak spell, and can even summon a Flame Atronach to join the chaos. To get the upper hand, some fire resistance will be pretty useful. But once you've defeated Ragot, don't forget to claim his mask and staff. Check out the chest at the back and explore the altar behind his tomb for some cool weapons and armor. Head outside and you'll find the word wall for Stormcall, but you may have to brave one more fight against the Lost Paladin before you can learn it. And once he's been dealt with, be sure to loot his ghostly remains for the legendary Chrysamere. 27. Volsung. Now here's a dragon priest with mysterious origins. Some say Volsung could be a nod to Volsung, a legendary figure from the Volsunga saga. In that tale, Volsung embarks on a daring voyage across the sea. And since Volsung's mask gives you the incredible ability to breathe underwater, I'd say it aligns itself pretty well with this theory. What do you guys think? You'll come face to face with Volsung at the summit of Volskiga. And let me tell you, this boss fight will give you the chills. To begin with, let's start again, shall we? He's a Frostmaster, unleashing bone-chilling storms of ice with his Ice Storm and Icy Spear spells. And just when you think things can't get any frostier, he summons a Frost Atronach to join in on the icy fun. When I was new to Skyrim, I remember climbing the hill to fight Volsung instead of doing the dungeon. I was level 7 and got wasted. I managed to cheese him by hiding and shooting him with hundreds of arrows, all the while dodging his one-hit kill spells, until he became glitched and permanently vegetableized and no longer chased me. The feeling when I loosed that final arrow and claimed his mask made it feel like it was worth the pain. I don't even know why I bothered to fight him. I think I just wanted a Dragon Priest mask. Well, that was certainly a stroke of luck there from Rannoch, but unfortunately, Ishkar wasn't as fortunate. While at Volskiga, I may have been a bit underpowered for my level, and decided to just run past the Draugr Death Overlord to go and fight Volsung. While fighting, I had gotten pushed back to the cliff edge, and suddenly the Draugr Death Overlord flew down my ass off the mountain. Just as Volsung killed me, needless to say, I was bouncing off for a little while. I ended up in the little pond thing, just south of the burrow. Oh, brilliant. That was brilliant, Ishka. You've made my day. Now that's what I call an unexpected dip. So if you want to avoid a similar watery fate, I suggest sniping Volsung from a safe distance. Or you can just scale the mountain and avoid the Jorga altogether. And when you do emerge victorious, don't forget to grab his awesome triple enchanted mask. And speaking of Dragon Priest masks, if you're curious to learn more about them and discover which is the ultimate mask, then you can check out my ranking on them by clicking the link in the description. 26. Archkarate Vertha. Back in the Merethic era, Vertha served as the Archkarate in the Chantry of Auriel. However, things took a dark turn when he was turned into a vampire by one of the initiates. Feeling betrayed by Auriel for not protecting him from this disease, Vertha created the Tyranny of the Sun prophecy as his revenge. He believed that fulfilling this prophecy would weaken Auriel's influence and bring him some satisfaction. And to make it happen, Vertha needed the blood of a daughter of Cold Harbor and Auriel's bow. The twisted remnants of his own race, the Falmer, attacked the Chantry of Auriel. But fueled by his rage, Vertha defeated the intruders, freezing them in solid blocks of ice. And to this day, he remains within the inner sanctum, patiently waiting your arrival during the Touching the Sky quest. With a beer in hand, obviously. I mean, how else would he pass the time? Just like Volsung, Vertha is a master of ice magic and can hurl deadly icy spear and ice storm spells your way. But he seems to prefer spamming his lightning bolt. He's got a frost cloak to keep him protected from melee attackers too, and can even summon a frost Achanak to aid him in battle. But as a vampire, Vertha brings a whole new challenge to the table. His vampiric drain not only drains your health, but also saps your stamina, leaving you weakened and vulnerable. It's an epic showdown at a breathtaking location. But while he may sound intimidating, there is a sneaky method to dispose of him quickly. First time I fought Archkarate Vertha, I immediately Fusroda'd him off the cliff. I had to reload because I wanted his armor. And Shredded Yeet sure knows how to yeet. But retrieving Vertha's loot doesn't have to be difficult, as you can just use the Become Ethereal shout. Now who said shouts weren't useful? I just feel sorry for Vertha, who's been waiting for this moment for ages, only to be sent soaring off a cliff within mere seconds of the fight by a well-timed Fusroda. 25. Durnevir. This dragon has seen more battles against his own kind than you can imagine, but while his fellow dragons met their fate in combat, Durnevir took a different route to power. He delved in the dark arts of necromancy and struck a deal with the Ideal Masters. In exchange for guarding Valerica until her death, he gained the incredible ability to summon powerful undead armies. But there was a twist, as those sneaky Ideal Masters conveniently forgot to mention that Valerica is a vampire and therefore immortal. So poor old Durnevir is stuck serving them in the Soul Calm for all eternity. But fear not, because with our help, we can change Durnevir's fate, at least temporarily. You'll face him during the Beyond Death quest, and there's a reason why Durnevir's design has such a high rating. He's got big gnarly spikes protruding from his back, and wicked horns adorning his head. And as an undead dragon, his flesh is withered and decayed. His wings weathered and worn, adding to his awe-inspiring appearance. And when it comes to combat, Durnevir is no pushover, apart from when he goes AFK. Alongside his deadly dragon breath and ferocious melee attacks, he can unleash a devastating array of shouts, including Drain Vitality, frost breath, and his own unique shout that summons a lot of bone men. Luckily, you won't have to face him and his minions alone though, as Serana and Valerica will lend a hand in taking him down. It's best to focus on Durnavir himself, while the ladies deal with the bone men, as he won't stop summoning those things. And once you emerge victorious, Durnavir will grant you the ability to summon him back in Tamriel as a powerful ally, promising to reward you each time you set him free. And with each summoning, he'll teach you another word of the Soul Tear shout. Durnavir is a pretty cool boss in a nice questline. I love the battle you have with him, and I love how they expanded his character to more than Protector of Solkarn. He is my favourite follower you can shout, although you need a big space to spawn him. And I'd have to agree with Mr. Artist Spawn there, as he's probably my favourite follower from a shout too, especially since you can summon him indoors. If you're intrigued to learn more about what Summon Durnavir has to offer, including all 27 dragon shouts in Skyrim, be sure to check out my ranking on them, linked in the description. 24. Morokai. This is another powerful dragon priest lurking within the vast ruins of Labyrinthian. Savos Aren, before he became the Archmage of the College of Winterhold, led 5 of his fellow students on an exciting expedition to Labyrinthian in search of hidden treasures and secrets. But little did they know, the ruins held much more danger than they had anticipated. As they delved deeper into the ruin, a formidable adversary awaited them, Morokai. It quickly became a battle for survival, and in a desperate attempt to save himself, Savos made a heart-wrenching decision. He sacrificed his 2 remaining students, forever binding their spirits to serve as ethereal thralls, and sealing Morokai within a magical barrier. And they're all still stuck down there, deep in the heart of Labyrinthian to this day. But fear not, as you'll have the chance to finally release their souls and face Morokai head on during the Staff of Magnus quest. The first time I fought Morokai was on a pure mage build. It was only the second character I made, so I still did not know much about the game. You can probably guess how that went, as I, a struggling newbie, tried to fight a boss who constantly drained my magicka while only using magic. Eventually, I found the boss chest while waiting for my magicka to regenerate for the umpteenth time, and it had a fireball staff inside. I have never again been so happy to see a staff in a random loot chest, and Sodium Plate was definitely in for a real shock when he faced Morokai, because this dragon priest is a true master of shock spells, unleashing chain lightning, thunderbolt, and even enveloping himself in a crackling lightning cloak. And just when you think you've got him figured out, he summons a Storm Atronak to drain even more of your precious magicka. It can be a challenging battle, especially for us wizards, and equipping yourself with the bound bow or any standard bow is a good way to take him down. But the best way to verse dragon priests, and spellcasters for that matter, is to absorb their magicka, so you can unleash more attacks and minimize damage to you. And don't forget to claim your rewards. Grab Morokai's mask, the legendary Staff of Magnus, and delve into that treasure chest for some valuable loot. Hey there, wizard! Are you enjoying the video so far? If so, a cheeky thumbs up would be splendid. And I've gotta say, it would be awesome if you could show some love on Patreon too. Not only would you be supporting me, but you'll also get some fantastic bonuses in return. To join the Wizard tier, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description. Every bit of support is greatly appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. Now let's get back to the ranking. 23. Vulcan. This mysterious priest hangs out in Highgate Ruins, and while there isn't a ton of info about him, I've got a pretty interesting theory for you. You see, there's a chance that our friend here could actually be connected to the Companions. And if you want the full scoop on Vulcan, as well as all the lore on the Dragon Priests, be sure to check out the link in the description. But back to Vulcan. This guy is no pushover, and he's got a whole arsenal of magic at his fingertips. I'm talking fireballs, scorching incinerate attacks, and a bone-chilling frost cloak. And that's not all, as he has a staff of fireballs and can summon a storm Atronach to back him up too. But fear not, for you can have your own backup, with Anska if you like. But personally, I wouldn't bring her to the fight, as Vulcan is a pretty powerful priest, and she could easily die, meaning you'll never get her reward. So instead, if things start getting tough, you can just regroup up the stairs at either side of his coffin to catch your breath and heal up. Once you've taken care of business, make sure to grab Vulcan's mask, accept the Conjure Flaming Familiar spell from Anska, and don't forget to check out the treasure chests and word wall in the room beyond. 22. Dukan. This priest awaits you in the creepy, spider-infested sanctum of White Ridge Barrow. When it comes to combat, Frost is his game. Just listen to Isaac's intense battle. I entered Dukan's domain with only the robes on my back and a few mana potions to my name, having already run low on supplies and magic. When Dukan was risen from his slumber, he began his assault on me with an ungodly amount of ice magic. All the while, I tried to the best of my abilities at repelling him with flame spells and wards in a class of ice and fire. Yet, the low magic and lack of supplies ultimately led to my body betraying me to hypothermia, and just as soon as I had stood victorious over my foe. Survival mode really adds another depth of combat and suffering sometimes. So close to victory, but what an epic battle it was. You see, Dukan can shroud himself in a chilling frost cloak, and also wields a unique spell called Frost Stream, which unleashes a freezing blast similar to the Frost Breath shout. And here's where things get interesting. Dukan can even summon Seekers in battle, hinting at his possible connection to the infamous Mirak. Now when you face Dukan, I recommend clearing the barrow beforehand, or at least the area by his tomb, so that way you can retreat to the top without worrying about any pesky spiders or reavers on your 6. And once he is defeated, don't forget to claim his mask. Check out the loot from the treasure chest and discover the powerful Cyclone Shout from the word wall. There's also a sneaky black book waiting for you on the other side. 21. Potema. Also known as the Wolf Queen, this powerful necromancer and former Queen of Solitude made quite a name for herself during the Third Era. In fact, her thirst for power and her unrelenting pursuit of the Ruby Throne from her own family led to an all-out war, known as the War of the Red Diamond. The battles raged on for years, and Potema's reign of terror seemed unstoppable. Her fury and spirit were unbelievably strong, and it took her brothers and a whole decade of fighting to finally bring her down. Fast forward to the present day, where a group of foolish necromancers thought it was a great idea to raise and bind Potema's spirit. But of course, being the heroic dragonborn that we are, we interrupted their little ritual and crashed their party. But little did we know, our interference only set Potema's spirit free, to wreak havoc once again. And now she's back in her old catacombs beneath Solitude, amassing her undead army. You'll need to prepare for a tough showdown during the Wolf Queen Awakened quest, as she has hordes of level Draugr and bloodthirsty vampires lurking in the shadows. As you venture deeper into the catacombs to the Sanctum, you'll face wave after wave of relentless Draugr, raised by none other than Potema herself, and she has a deadly rotating beam, crackling with shock damage if it catches you. So to withstand her electrifying attacks, it's a good idea to gear up on some resist shock potions. And if you want an extra edge, a trusty Storm Atronach will help a lot, as they have an immunity to shock and can help take the focus off you. But a pro tip is to retreat to the hallway and take on the Draugr one by one as they come through the door. That way you won't get overwhelmed and hit from all sides, and can avoid Potema's deadly beam, as well as the Draugr's summons. But if you are feeling brave and want to experience Potema's full wrath, then I highly recommend wielding Dawnbreaker, as its explosive power can buy you some valuable time. And once you've defeated them all, prepare for the final showdown with Potema's remains. But fear not, she's nothing like the previous battle and is pretty easy to dispatch. And before you head out, don't forget to check out the treasure chest and claim the loot when you make your exit. Or not. 20. Malkarin. This sneaky Breton necromancer has been causing chaos in Kilcreath ruins. He stole Dawnbreaker from the powerful goddess Meridia, and with the artifact's immense power, he created an army of corrupted shades. He's a challenge to say the least, but we all know what the real challenge is. I shiver at the thought. But once you finally embark on Meridia's quest and make your way through her temple, prepare yourself for a tough encounter. The boss fight that stood out to me the most was Malkarin, because as soon as I opened the door to his boss room, I instantly fell over dead. For some reason, he had already detected me and was waiting by the door to blast me with ice storms. And Lord Bumcrack's not wrong, because he sure can be a pain in the ass. After all, he's a wizard and a master of destruction and restoration spells, hurling icy spears and ice storms your way, all while using fast healing to mend his wounds. Additionally, Malkarin will sometimes use his steadfast ward to block your attacks, which sucks when you just want to Fusradar him across the room. But fear not, because one shout that can bypass his ward is Cyclone. It'll catch him off guard, sending him up in the air, where you can unleash some serious damage before he recovers. But here's an even better tip. If you've completed the Dragonborn questline, then you definitely want to make use of the Bend Will shout, as you can use it on him and watch as he turns against his own shades, making the battle much easier. To play it extra safe, I suggest some stealth shots from the hallway for that critical damage. But once you deal with Malkarin, he's not quite finished yet, and he'll return as a shade, throwing shock magic your way. But if you're quick to dispatch him after casting Bend Will on him, then his shade should still be under the effects of the shout, and he shouldn't even retaliate. Make sure to grab everything from the corpses and retrieve Dawnbreaker, one of the best Daedric artifacts in the game. You can even pick up 2 of them with a sneaky Fusradar if you like. And speaking of Daedric artifacts, if you'd like to find out what the top 10 are, be sure to check out my ranking, linked in the description. 19. Zakrisos. This lich is said to belong to an ancient Nordic tribe known as the Bloodskull clan. He was laid to rest in water, which is unusual, deep within Bloodskull Barrow. The reason for the clan's downfall is unknown, but what we do know is that Zakrisos still lurks in the depths of this barrow to this day. He's the second dragon priest in our ranking from the Dragonborn expansion, and what sets him apart from the rest is that he's the only leveled priest in the game, reaching an impressive level 60. So if you're up for the challenge, you'll find him lurking below Raven Rock Mine during the final descent quest. But be warned, he's all about shock attacks and will zap you with spells like Thunderbolt, and will even dual cast Lightning Storm at higher levels, which can be pretty deadly. And since those shock spells are lightning quick, it's a good idea to bring along some shock resistance. Having a trusty bow will go a long way too, especially since this section of the barrow is pretty big, which is perfect for some long range shots. Once you've taken Zakrisos down, don't forget to claim his mask, pay a visit to the Word Wall, and search the room beyond for some treasures, potions, and a black book. 18. Haknir Deathbrand. Also known as the King of Ghosts, Haknir was a legendary and fearsome pirate who ruled the northern seas centuries ago. He was an incredibly strong warrior who was known for making his entrance in combat by charging into battle, wearing his shiny set of Skyrim armor while wielding his twin scimitars, Blood Scythe and Soul Render. But Haknir wasn't just known for his strength, as he had a fiery temper that terrified his crew, which was probably influenced by mead, hence this scene. Some whispered that he extended his life by feeding on the blood and souls of his victims, while others speculated he might have been a freed Daedra in the mortal world. There were even tales of a pact with Maroon's Dagon himself, with a scar on his face known as the Death Brand, symbolizing their agreement. But despite all of that, Haknir was not immortal, and as he approached death, he faced the task of choosing a successor. But surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, he deemed none of his crew members strong or worthy enough to inherit his treasure. Instead, he cursed his ship, his crew, his armor, and his swords, declaring that only the one who could defeat him in combat would ever lay hands on his treasure. In his final act, he instructed his quartermaster to bury his armor in 4 different locations along the coast of Solstheim. And as for Haknir himself, he sailed off with his trusty helmsman to Gildenhall Barrow, where he wished to be laid to rest alongside his precious treasure. And by the way, there's a lot of it, so if you dare to challenge Haknir at the end of the Deathbrand quest, along with all of his crew, get ready for a vicious showdown. This guy hits like a tank, with Blood Scythe and Soul Render, so it's best to keep your distance and bring a shield with you to weather the storm. And the Deathbrand armor which you get before the fight has some very handy bonuses, especially when you wear the full set, so be sure to put that on if you haven't got anything stronger. Another pro tip here is to bring along some backup, as those friendlies can be real lifesavers in this battle, especially since Haknir likes to vanish from time to time and send waves of his crew after you. After emerging victorious, don't forget to scour the area for some treasure and loot the crew's ghostly remains for some valuable jewelry, and Haknir for his other legendary scimitar, Soul Render. 17. Nakreen. You'll come across this powerful dragon priest at the dragon-infested ruin of Skulldarfen during the World Eater's Eyrie. And there's a reason why you encounter him so late into the main story, and that's because he's not your average priest, and he has a crucial role in gatekeeping the portal to Sovngarde for none other than Alduin himself. Some even say he's Alduin's personal dragon priest. And if you're intrigued by this theory, be sure to check out my lore video on the dragon priests, linked in the description. When you're facing Nakreen and his horde of tough Draugr minions outside the temple, a pro tip is to use Spellbreaker. This powerful shield will protect you from their devastating shouts and attacks, and can be pretty useful when Nakreen unleashes his destructive magic. But luckily, there are a good few hiding spots around this area, so you can use them to your advantage to dodge his attacks and take him down from a safe distance. And the fact that he has to close the portal first means you can rush him and get some cheap shots in before he turns his attention. But once you've defeated Nakreen, do not forget to claim his mask, as once you step into that portal, there's no coming back. And that's going to conclude part 2 of ranking Skyrim's bosses. If you enjoyed the video, then a like would be super helpful to support the channel. And if you want to know when I upload more top-notch Skyrim content, including part 3 of this ranking, then don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications. We've got quite the lineup for part 3, and only the biggest and strongest bosses remain. But before we get into that, we have the shouts to rank. Thanks for watching, Wizards, and thank you once again for being a part of this journey. For this has been the Welsh Wizard, and I shall see you all in the next one.